Well, hello there. It's another day. I'm Jim Harrington.
And I am Bill Knight. Happy Monday. Well, what do you think is going to happen this week?
Gosh. We make predictions, and they're always wrong because always something comes along. By the way, that guy Prigozhin, who was supposedly killed in that plane crash, they got DNA back on his body or a body, and they say, yeah, it was him. So apparently he was on that plane. But, when you have to identify with DNA alone, I don't know. Can you fudge that?
You can, because you know what? You sit there and look, when I'm up here, we always have those stupid crime shows on.
Right.
And they're trying to get, and they're going, DNA is not what it was then that it is now. And they're talking just 3 years ago. Or it depends on how much DNA they have. And they always come back and say, even on the recent stuff, it's not an exact thing. It's just one more thing.
Oh, yeah.
In a puzzle of things. So, they're going to have to do dental records, bones, and everything. Although I did see the picture of the plane where it hit 20,000 feet and blew. So, that was an altitude bomb.
Yeah, and that's true. They very well could be. Some people say it was a surface-to-air missile because they saw a streak. I didn't see any streak. The other thing is it seemed to almost float to the ground. Did you notice how it came down? It didn't come down like an arrow. It came down like a leaf. And I thought, wow, why is it going so slow? But goodness knows. And by the way, this guy Prigozhin has done this before. In 2019, he feigned his own death to get out of something, and then eventually he reappeared again. And I'm thinking, and he's a billionaire. So when you're a billionaire and you want to get off the face of the earth, you don't want to have people coming after you. And he had to know that he was a target for Putin because he tried to bring that government down. Do you think that maybe he figured, look, I can disappear. I can disappear. I have enough money. Can you guys figure? Yeah, give us some DNA. We'll put it on.
I was going to say, donate some DNA, find a nothing person, put them on the plane, let them get charred up.
Yeah.
And say, here's a DNA sample. Oh, okay.
What if you, this is all a theory, but what if you, God forgive me, but what if you filled the plane with corpses? If you took dead bodies from funeral homes and stuck them in the plane. There's a lot of things that could be done. If I were writing a screenplay and I wanted to disappear, I probably could figure out a way to do it. Also, then there's the other thing. If you go to the guy who's doing the testing and say, I'm going to give you all this money, make that DNA me. I'm just saying,
Look, he's got people in his pocket. So I'm sure that he could, he's done it before. He could do it again, disappear himself. And with the technologies that are out there, I'm sure that he could come back and be an entirely different looking person. Full head of hair,
I don't know about that. You get to a certain age and, you can't grow grass. You can't grow grass on concrete,
Well, okay.
I take it from me. Other things they're trying to do, Bill, did you notice that they're trying, these are all things I heard over the weekend, they're talking more and more about masking people again, about lockdowns and getting another, Joe supposedly is going to suggest another shot. And, if Joe suggests it, if Joe says, Bill, I think you should get another booster. If Joe says it, you got it. You got to do it, right?
Right.
Who knows more about medicine than Joe?
Yeah, Joe is, he invented the election steal from it. That was one thing that he did perfect of how to steal an election. And what was it? Speaking of which, what was it? Kemp over the weekend down in Georgia?
Oh, yeah. I think I actually have that. I don't have it in my button bar, but if you give me a second,
I'll give you a second.
I'm going to find the audio of Mr. Kemp.
If you give anybody a voting machine, they can have it. Yeah. What did you just say? If you give anybody a voting side of truth.
I'm okay. We are.
I am standing on the side of truth and winning elections because that's what matters.
Grady County boy here, Field Cersei.
Hey, great. Good to see you.
How you doing?
Thanks for videoing.
Yeah. We want to keep it on the record.
That's good.
We need transparency in our elections.
We
don't have transparency
you
now.
Volunteer to be a poll worker.
I'm not good.
It wasn't really worth it. A lot of noise and stuff. But what he did say, and I suggest you go to the Gateway Pundit and look for the audio. Like Bill said, it's right at the very top of the page. But he admits to essentially election interference. And then when he realizes somebody's videotaping it, he turns to the guy with the camera and says, oh, hi, I'm glad you're here recording this. And the guy with the camera says, yeah, we want transparency in our elections. And then Kemp gets a little defensive and kind of goes up and says, well, there is transparency in the elections. It was like a kid who got caught putting his hand in the cookie jar, you know?
Yeah, look, they're going to find a way to change that narrative and say, well, what he really meant to say. They'll rewrite it for him, but what he exactly said, if you give anybody a voting machine, they can hack it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what he said. And he said it so casually, too, so matter-of-factly. You know, there was another thing that Raffensperger said, and I don't know that I had the audio, but he was talking with somebody about the number of votes that were missing in the election, and she said it was 300,000, and Raffensperger said, the Secretary of State for Georgia said, oh yeah, that's about right. But what he didn't do is they didn't look for those votes and either eliminate them from the counting. They just sort of let them stay in the mix, if you know what I mean. They said 300,000 votes can be corrupted, but don't worry about it. That's what Georgia supposedly did. And all, by the way, Trump needed was 11,000. What they're suing him for right now is 11. That comment he said, I only need about 11,500 votes or something like that.
Yeah, 11,780 votes. I could be wrong in that number, but that's the number that sticks out all the time.
I think you're right. I think that's what he said. So there's also a push, we talked about this before the show, to have Trump's name removed from the ballot before the election.
Yeah, they're working on that. You know, they're telegraphing everything they want to do. Now, they've been telegraphing this for a while, and now they're making the motions. In New Hampshire, you've got it going on, Republican state, and it's a Republican doing it, or a rhino. In Florida, a Republican state, but it is a Democrat doing it. The blue states are getting ready to do it. Let's take him off of the ballot. Why would they do that? Well, he's an illegitimate candidate. Well, how is he an illegitimate candidate? Because he was convicted of the insurrection. Well, there was no insurrection because, he
wasn't convicted, Bill.
No, he wasn't convicted. There was no trial there for it. And the grand jury cannot sit there, and they have no legal authority to do anything. They can't, we declare that was an insurrection. You don't have the authority to do that. Sorry, but you don't. You can recommend a trial, which has never taken place.
Just because a guy's an attorney doesn't mean he's smart, okay? And just because a guy is an attorney doesn't mean he's honest. There are people out there who have gotten through law school and passed the bar who really you wouldn't want to have coffee with, but yet they're lawyers, they're attorneys, and they automatically get a certain level of respect and deference from people that in many cases is undeserved. And, these guys are out there I'm going to file a motion to get his name taken from the ballot. Anybody can do that. If you have the money and you just want to waste it, anybody can go to an attorney and have them file a motion to get something removed. You could do it. I could do it. But these people are trying to muddy the waters, to cause confusion, to wreak havoc on our electoral system. By the way, I still believe that many of them are supported by guys like Soros. I think this is part of a master globalist plan to bring down our country, to destroy this country. We have
Well,
got it. Go ahead, Bill.
Well, I was going to say, what rights do we have? I mean, I know, the Constitution, First Amendment. Well, but what rights do we really
We
have?
supposedly had a right to free speech. We supposedly had a right to carry arms, to bear arms. We supposedly had a right to a free press, an honest press. All of those things have been manipulated with and toyed with over the last 20 or 30 years, especially during the last 5 years.
Freedom of religion, freedom of expression, and then also you can get into that, the racial discrimination that goes on, that it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter what sex you are, it doesn't matter what color your skin is.
Right.
All these inalienable all these rights that we have. I can't talk this morning.
No, it's
we
okay.
have. Well, Alan Dershowitz made a comment. He goes, the Democrats are traipsing on this ground, and they're telegraphing what they're doing. But he goes, they're traipsing on the ground, grounds that with Trump, they basically are saying that he is not worthy. In other words, they don't like what he has to say.
Mm-hmm.
So they're saying he is not worthy. He doesn't live up to their standards or believe in what they believe in. Therefore, he is not worthy of due process of law.
It's amazing. I have friends who are leftists, and I'm some of them have really surprised me, because I thought, I've known them in many cases for decades, but not in a political way, and
Right.
and then you find out that they are solid leftists, which is okay, and it doesn't really affect my relationship with them, because I'm of the belief that you have a right to believe what you want to believe, whether it's an intelligent view or a knowledgeable view. That's just my opinion. But on the left, they don't feel that way. The left feels that if you believe as I believe, conservative, I almost don't have a right to say what I'm saying. Do you know? They belittle and they minimize our side, and they almost criminalize it. They call MAGAs. They group them together like they're Nazis in many cases.
Well, and that's what they're doing here. I mean, they're telegraphing right now about Trump. There was, the media has been doing it. They're the right arm of the left, and a judge is saying, well, you know what, Trump just doesn't get it. He doesn't shut up. We want to silence him.
Yeah.
If he doesn't watch out for his rhetoric, well, what's the definition of rhetoric? Well, rhetoric is something that I say that you don't want to hear, you don't believe in, it is not your narrative. Well, that's rhetoric to you. So they're saying that if he doesn't can his rhetoric, in other words, he doesn't shut up and quit campaigning, they're going to lock him up as a pretrial lockup before the trial. Now, right now, they're going, we got to get this trial going. You watch. They're going to go ahead and lock him up. They're already declaring it. They're already getting ready to do it. They're telegraphing it. Now you got the judge telegraphing it and the media helping. So they're going to go and lock him down and say, well, he's locked up. Can't say anything. He's in jail till we have this trial. Then they're going to go, he's right. We need to do this trial after the election.
With every stupid move the left makes, Trump gets stronger. And they don't seem to see it on the left. It's like, well, we're gonna shut him up now. First they said, well, we're gonna get his mugshot out there. We're gonna bring him down to Georgia and we're gonna get his mugshot and we're gonna throw it out there for the world and embarrass him. So they bring him down to Georgia. This 19 or 18 cars in a motorcade. He looks like the president. He looks like the president. I mean, Biden doesn't have a motorcade like President Trump has. And when he gets down there, he takes a mugshot that looks like it was staged in a photo studio, and it becomes the hottest property on the internet. Everybody wants to post it. It's everywhere. And now that's backfired to a point where his fundraising has gone through the roof. I understand over the weekend it broke records. And you think to yourself, don't they realize that every time they take a slap at this guy, he gets stronger?
Yeah.
What are they thinking on the left? Now you're talking about, and I think I heard this too, Bill, and I think that's the next move, is to put him in jail. What do you think will happen if they put him in jail? I mean, besides the fact that there'll probably be a vigil at the courthouse, at the jail, every night until he's the president again. By the way, if it ensures he becomes the president, then can you imagine what's going to happen to some of these people after he becomes president? Because he will immediately pardon himself. You know, you can't have a president of the United States in prison, and all of a sudden he's going to turn around, and some of these people who have been wielding a big stick are going to get that stick taken away from them, and it's going to come back at them.
Problem that I see is that if they can put him in jail, before the election, and then extend that case of him, being after the election, and they're doing the he's not worthy of due process. Once you do that and you take away the freedom of speech, which they've taken away, and his right to a fair and fair trial, they're doing that. If he's not going to win the presidency, because they're going to say he's not worthy of being on the ballot. He's not worthy of us counting his name. They're going to do everything they can to deny him.
This has got to be resolved, in my opinion, by the military. And the only way an honest solution is going to be is if a neutral military comes in. And because let's face it, folks, the guys who are doing all these things are doing illegal things. I mean, just look at the indictment charges. They're illegal. They're baseless. They're stupid. They look like they were put together by a law student, a dumb law student. Never mind a law student. I mean, he's being charged for things that he never should be charged for. I mean, it's just anybody. You don't have to be a lawyer. I mean, the guy, like Bill said, he called and he said to Raffensperger, hey, you got to get me 11,700 more votes. Mm-hmm. Now, tell me what's wrong with saying that, because I would say that, and anybody else who is running would say the same thing. First of all, you have to remember that Raffensperger was the Secretary of State, but he was a Republican. He was on, quote, Trump's side, supposedly. He wasn't, but he was supposed to be on Trump's side, so Trump thought that he was talking to somebody who was on his team. We need to get another 11,000 votes. Can we do a recount somewhere? Can we get, that's the kind of thing you're talking about, and that happens everywhere. Whenever somebody loses an election, they always have a conversation like that.
Yeah, Democrats, Republicans, and whatnot. But, I got to question the whole political system, and because I've gotten this email before. Maybe I can pull it up, because it's one that just irks me when I get it. What they're saying is that my membership has been suspended.
Membership from what?
The Republican Party.
Oh, hey, listen, that's fine. As far as I'm concerned, I'm not very proud of the Republicans. I don't know how you feel, but
I'm not either. And you know how I can get my membership back?
You give them money.
Donation. Yes.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah. So if I give them money, I can get my, what? Take your party and stick it. Take the Democrat Party and stick it. I don't know. And they're not political. They're not political they're organizations. I guess what I'm saying is they are businesses.
The thing that gets me about these people is they are using Trump's name to fundraise for the Republican Party. And you have to ask yourself, what has the Republican Party done to stand by Trump during his time of need? Trump is very polite with the Republicans because he still is on the ballot as the leading Republican candidate. So he has to maintain some kind of neutrality. But as an observer looking from the outside in, this party has done nothing at all for Trump. How much has Mitch McConnell, the minority leader in the Senate, how much has he done to support President Trump recently? Like nothing. Nothing at all. We have Kevin McCarthy. I got a cut from Kevin McCarthy today. he is Casper Milquetoast. And he, as a matter of fact, he was on with Maria Bartiromo yesterday. They were talking about impeachment. Now,
when's that going to happen? When's it going to happen?
Well, if somebody said to me, if I were the Speaker of the House and somebody said to me, after all you've got on this guy Biden, are you going to impeach him or are you going to? I would have said,
either are or you're not. Get off the pot.
I would have said yes or no. I would have started the conversation off with a definitive answer. Do you want to hear what he said?
No, let's hear it.
Here's what he said.
Speaker, always a pleasure. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, Maria.
Will you bring an impeachment inquiry against President Biden this September?
Well, Maria, first you've got to understand, only because Republicans took the majority have we found out what President Biden told us when he was running for office is not true. He said he never had any dealings with his son's business, and that he never even talked to him. We've now found out not only did he call into the meetings, he went to dinner, and after the dinner, Hunter Biden got a new Porsche, that there was $3.5 million transferred. We now found out as he was a sitting vice president, the family created 20 shell companies. They received 16 of 17 payments from Romania while he was vice president. We now found that the money would flow to 9 family members. He has to continue to change this. But since then, we found a movement of his administration of weaponization. We found that now the special prosecutor, David Weiss, actually let the statute of limitations run out on Hunter Biden's taxes. We found that the FBI actually informed Hunter Biden and the inaugural committee prior to our ability to go and interview him. We also have a DOJ that tried to give a sweetheart deal to Hunter Biden, and the judge said no. So if you look at all the information we've been able to gather so far, it is a natural step forward that you would have to go to an impeachment inquiry. And just so your viewers understand what that means, that provides Congress the apex of legal power to get all the information they need. Because remember what's laying out there right now. We have an attorney general that could have lied to the American public, which he is now named a special prosecutor. They have said 2 different things, and you have Gary Shapley on a little later today, IRS whistleblowers that have come forward that show that there's 2 forms of justice when it comes to America. But now when you look at this, it looks like a culture of corruption that's been happening within the entire Biden family. You've got to get to be able to answer that to the American public. The American public deserves that answer. Who's lying? What information went on? Who paid? And what foreign governments, when you found now that we know that an FBI actually had an informant, which got to a form of a 1023, claiming that they had bribed then vice president and saying that we would never find the money because they went through shell companies and withheld that from the IRS individuals investigating Hunter Biden.
I think you made such an important point right there that needs to be underlined. We would not know any of this if it were not for even your 5-person majority. Thanks to your investigations, the hearings, the on-the-record testimonies that your investigators have been doing, we have learned a lot about what has taken place allegedly during this period when Joe Biden was vice president. What other evidence are you seeking in order to bring that in? Do you need more evidence to prove to your members? Do you have the votes for an inquiry?
Well, we have been out on summer recess right now working in the district. When we go back, we'll discuss this, but we find new information each week. We did not know about the whistleblowers coming forth. We did not know of all these times that the president lied to the American public. Each step we take contradicts what the Bidens had said before. Could you imagine being a sitting vice president and your family's members set up 20 shell companies? American companies don't do that. And then they deal with foreign countries that you got 16 of 17 payments from Romania while you're vice president. And then we have the vice president, now president, claiming that he utilized American tax dollars to withhold from Ukraine to get a prosecutor fired. We just recently found out during break from a business partner with Hunter Biden that they were being pressured when they were on that board to try to do something about that prosecutor. So there's a lot of questions questions is still. And to be able to get the answers to these questions, you would need impeachment inquiry to empower Congress, Republicans and Democrats, to be able to get the answers that the American people deserve to know. I've had Democrats now tell me that they're very concerned because they back this president based upon what he told America. And with each turn, we find that is not true.
Understand something. She asked a yes or no answer both times. She asked it twice. Once in the beginning and once about 2.5 minutes into his answer. You know, I was thinking that his expertise, he must know that he has a window in the program of like 5 minutes, and he just talks babble for as long as he can talk babble for an answer. The answer was a yes or no in the beginning. You know, are you going to impeach President Biden? Do you have the evidence to impeach him? And he's going to have to understand that all it's like, no. If I were an attorney and he was sitting on the stand, I'd say that's a yes or no answer, you know. But he didn't give that.
No, the reason he did that, he knew that he had 5 minutes, or there was 5 minutes they wanted. So if he said yes, then the next question, there would be a next question and a next question, and a next question. But by doing what he did,
but you know, Bill, the people I think are tired of this bull crap that we're being thrown. I think that we're tired. We're exhausted as a society. We need straight, honest answers and action. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the Democrats, they had nothing to go on with Trump, but they sat there and they said they did. And are you going to impeach him? Yeah, they did. They said, yeah. And that's what they're doing. So, he's got no cojones on this. And the time is running out. The clock is running out. We've got a year. How long are they going to wait? Now, the Democrats are going, there is no evidence against Joe. How are you going to impeach a guy? There's no evidence to show any wrongdoing. You got bank records. You got witnesses. What more do you need? You got a smoking gun. You got the Burisma president. They got fired. That's sitting there going, yeah, his boss told him, here's the reason why I'm firing you. It's because Joe Biden wants you fired or we don't get that money. Well,
Bill, if this
what more do you need?
If you were a local DA somewhere and you had this much evidence against a criminal in your district, I don't think you would hesitate to pull the trigger on bringing charges. But this group of politicians, they either don't do anything to support President Trump, or they don't have, like Bill said, the cojones to pull the trigger on Biden's impeachment. And in the meantime, you know what else we celebrated this weekend? I say celebrated. That is the wrong term. And I apologize up front. I didn't mean to say celebrated. We had the anniversary, 2 years, of the 13 service people who died in Afghanistan for no good reason. No good reason. Understand something. We had snipers who had the suicide bomber in their sights. They had him in their sights. And they asked, sir, we have a suicide bomber in our sights. Do we have authorization to take him out? And the answer was no. And then a few more minutes went by. Sir, we have a green light. Sir, we have a clear target. Do we have authorization now to take him out? And they asked, by the way, up the ladder to Washington. Why Washington had to be involved with this is beyond me, but the answer was no. And so more time went by. They asked it about 3 or 4 times. And finally, it exploded and killed 13 of our beautiful service people. I mean, the average age was like 22 years old. And these people are gone forever. Their families have lost a loved one. We've lost some of the brightest flames in our society. The people who had the courage to go out and defend our country. And now this guy's taking victory laps, would you believe? He's taking victory laps. He's telling people that he did the right thing in Afghanistan. He did the right thing. We lost. By the way, you never hear about the wounded who were terribly maimed. I don't know whether you're aware of this or not, but we had I think it's like 26 people who were maimed. Some people lost legs and arms. They were the ones who lived during the explosion. I don't know. We have a terrible situation going on here. People say, well, it's only 2 more years. I submit, look at the previous 2 years and tell me we can make it to a new presidency. And by the way, I still am of the belief they're going to steal 2024 just like they stole 2020.
I think it's already stolen. I think they know the outcome. I think they know the whole. I really do. I think they've got it all lined up, and it doesn't matter what you, the voter, does. They're going to come out with a number that they got, and it's going to be another record number that you can argue with it if you want to, but they're not going to listen to you. But I think after this go around, I think they're going to start batting us around and be a little bit more of a.
You mean after the next thievery, the next steal, and they get in power again for another 4 years, they're going to be even more dictatorial?
Yeah, I do. I do.
Wow.
I think because at that point in time, we will if some of the stuff that we're talking about happens before the election, you should do something. Mm-hmm. What you should do, I can't tell you to do because then I'm inciting, and I don't want to incite. But I'm just sitting there going, you need to do something. Your voice needs to be loud, proud, and heard. If you can't do that, then, or you're not willing to do that, then shut up.
Yeah,
quit listening to the show and accept what you get.
Yeah, live with what you've agreed to live with. I mean, you are, you're not part of the solution. You're part of the problem.
You know, one of the things I've noticed over this weekend is if you watch the news at all,
mm-hmm.
there was a lot of gun violence, terrible gun violence.
Oh yeah,
all racist too. Did you know that?
That shooting down in was it Florida or someplace where a kid walks into a Dollar General? Maybe it wasn't Florida. Maybe it was down in South Carolina, someplace down. And
South Carolina.
He shot 3 black people, killed them, and then he shot himself. I mean,
there's something going on here because there's been, there's always gun violence, but all like the mayor of South Carolina, of that little town where I thought it was a Dollar General, then they said it was a Dollar Tree. It was a dollar something store that this person went into, and she goes, "Oh, it's just terrible. It's just terrible. The gun violence, this and that, and it was against black people." And I'm like going, all right, here we go. Here comes that narrative. Now, if this guy was a sick puppy, plus they were going after, he might have had conditions, and somebody sold a gun to him. And, we mentioned this last week that they are shutting down gun shops.
Here's what it says here. Jacksonville Sheriff T.K. Waters officially revealed the name of the gunman who carried out a racially motivated shooting at a Dollar General store in the city of Jacksonville, Florida, on Saturday. The gunman was identified as 21-year-old Ryan Palmeter, and they show a photo of this kid. He looks like a kid you could walk by in any store, anywhere, anytime. Moreover, it says WJXT4, that's the TV station in Jacksonville, captured exclusive footage of the racist madman shooting a woman in the car in the parking lot and then gunning down 2 men inside the dollar store. This kid was, besides being incredibly mean, he was nuts, okay? This is something which nobody ever talks about nowadays. There was a time in our country when if you had a mental issue, if you were insane, if you were depressed, if you had some kind of a deep and gripping mental problem, you were institutionalized. And you were they tried to give you therapy, or God forbid, back in the old days, they kind of just locked you away from society. I'm not saying that's the answer, but that's what they did. The result was you didn't have as many of these shootings and killings because these people weren't out in the public. But in our society, we've abdicated responsibility for curing these people. We've said, no, we're not gonna lock up these people. No. We're gonna let them roam the streets, and we're gonna let them live at home, and maybe they can go see a therapist every once in a while. That means that they could be next door to you. That means they could be down the street from you. That means they could be anywhere. They could be going to school with your children. And we have, our society is so screwed up right now, it makes you want to vomit. Pardon my French, but it's the truth. I mean, we have got no borders anymore, so anybody comes. Do you know what they're doing down in Arizona? The Border Patrol welded the gates open in Arizona. They welded the gates open, so they don't have to keep opening the gates, and people don't close the gates. They welded them open so that, just come on through. No big deal.
Well, why don't we just go and take a bulldozer down there and take the whole darn wall down? Who cares? What do we care?
If it didn't cost them so much money, they probably would, because that's how they're treating it right now. If they could do just that, they would. And it's not
Gas
really
prices are going up.
It's not the Border Patrol. I mean, they've been given orders from Mayorkas and his clowns in Washington. It's mind-boggling, and we're living in a society like this. We have all of a sudden they're trying to normalize guys swimming on the women's swimming team.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when I was a kid, you would have been laughed out of the school building or dragged out of the school building, but you wouldn't have been allowed to swim or to play soccer with the women's team if you were a guy. And there was only one criteria. If you happen to have male genitalia, there's a good shot that you were probably still a male. Okay? It was very simple, obvious to anybody. Nobody talked about it like it was a possibility. Maybe he feels like a woman. Well, if he feels like a woman, send him home. Let him work on those issues in the privacy of his home. Don't try to change the world for him.
Hey, you know what? Parents are not allowed now to sit there and talk about you talk about if he feels like a woman, but whatever, they're this gender thing that's going on. I'm just tying this into it. It's almost like they are not only distorting America, but they're brainwashing America. Like with there's something bigger going on here than meets the eye, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
What they're trying to do, in my opinion, is they're trying, and this is either globalists or deep state or somebody behind the scenes is tearing the character of our country apart. They are taking what we have lived with, the fabric that has made us a great country. Mm-hmm. It's being torn apart. It's being destroyed. All of a sudden they want you to believe that it's okay. It goes back to, remember Colin Kaepernick who took the knee during the football game. Little things like that add up. Let's really criticize and embarrass the American people. No more standing or saluting the flag. I'm going to take a knee. Yeah, because I've been so criticized and punished by this world. I mean, the world has been so tough on me. I mean, Kaepernick grew up in a mixed family. I believe he had white parents, but yet he talks about the world like he was a guy from the hood. He had about as much in common with the guys from the hood as I did, okay? Yet he tried to be, down with the cause. Anyway, I could go on and on. And,
No. I get it. I'm there. I'm frustrated as all hell, and
it's sad, Bill. It's sad that our country. And the only reason why I got into this is because you said it seems like there's just something going on that's happening, and it's true. It's
true.
Yeah,
and I'm looking at the gun violence going on. I just said, All right, so here we go. They're trying to close down the gun shops. They want to do the 14th Amendment. The Second Amendment. They want to get rid of it. So let's throw. I'm basically, I guess I'm saying they're manipulating people and controlling certain people to go out and cause harm.
And they have no problem with that, Bill.
Yeah,
they have no problem with that. They have no problem with hurting other people and causing. Look what they did in 2020 with the rioting in Seattle and Minneapolis and Portland. I mean, and I remember, I'll never forget it. An NBC reporter, I forgot his name, Avi, I'll think of it later. But he's somebody who's standing in front of a burning building, and they're throwing stuff into it to make the flames bigger. I mean, it's obviously chaos behind him. And it's just raging behind him. And he has the audacity to say, this is a mostly peaceful protest. This is a mostly peaceful protest. They have no problem at all to look into the camera nowadays and lie directly into your face. They have no problem at all. There was a time when the words had to match the pictures, but not so much anymore.
But they control the media. And the old saying that you tell a lie enough, sooner or later, people are going to believe it. You're going to believe it. And I believe the people telling the lies, they've gotten to the point they believe the lies. It's just like with Trump, is that they're sitting there going, well, he's not worthy because he doesn't believe what we believe. And we're not going to let you believe what you want to believe. You either believe what we believe or you're not worthy.
Yeah.
Who's not worthy? He's not worthy of running for president. He's not worthy of due process of law. You're not worthy to be on the planet. You got to
look at that debate stage the other night, right? With the Republicans who were there. Yeah. Well, there are guys like Mike Pence who are convinced that it meant something and Trump won't be the candidate. Listen.
I remain confident, more confident after Wednesday night, that the Republican nominee will not be the former president, that we're going to give the American people a standard bearer for the GOP that's going to be able to lead us to victory against Joe Biden and the radical left.
Can you believe that?
Well, I'll tell you this. I believe that coming out of Pence. Out of the people on the stage, I don't know that anyone's got a chance in hell to win, at all that was on that stage. Now, whether I say, well, I might go with DeSantis or I might go with Ramaswamy, I don't know, but I can tell you this for damn sure. If the Republican Party doesn't do something and help Trump out, and the American people don't do anything, then I, for one, will no longer be a Republican.
Me too. And I would suggest any Republican listening right now, if the Republican Party, like Bill says, doesn't get off its ass right now and show some support for Trump, enough. We're done.
I won't donate a dime. I've already, after that stupid little email they did, I won't donate a dime to the Republican Party. You call my phone number, go ahead. You are going to get the biggest tongue lashing that you ever got with a lot of foul sailor language, because I don't believe in you. I don't believe in the Democratic Party. If you're a Democrat, you should feel the same way, because it's a business and they just want your money so they can sit there and give it to who they want. What you just said is,
if you are a Democrat, but let's say you're a good God-fearing all-American Democrat who has been a Democrat because you've been a Democrat all your life, and you just never really paid a lot of attention to politics, they've confiscated and they've seized your party, the left has, and they've basically destroyed it. Okay? So while you were working and doing your all-American thing and raising a family and being a good citizen, some bad people came along and confiscated what was yours, and they've destroyed it. They have poisoned the Democratic Party. But the Republican Party has been poisoned too, with the likes of with Mitch McConnell and Mitt Romney and all of these people who they're Republican in name only. And so you look at Trump, and Trump says the other night, you don't really remember, he said, hey, listen, I'm going to be the president of everybody, of all people, Republicans and Democrats. If anybody is more welcoming to both sides, I know this sounds, it's Trump. It's Trump. You know, you had Hillary saying, she called us the deplorables. She called us the basket of deplorables. Here's what she said.
You could put half of Trump supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables. Right?
You're not worthy. There it is.
The racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, Islamophobic, you name it.
Enough. I can't take her. This too early in the morning, but you know what I'm saying.
Everything she is accusing us of, she's guilty of, and the whole left is guilty of. You know, but there it is.
Yeah.
We are not worthy. We do not think the way that they do. So if the Republican Party doesn't get off its ass, you know, then I'm done. I'm done as a Republican. I will, you know, they won't get they'll never see a dime from me until they change. They won't see a dime.
No, and I think that's the way it should be with every Republican out there. Every Republican you should be calling your representatives and your senators and say, enough. I want action now. I don't want it next month or 2 months from now or maybe by Christmas. I want you to do something now. By the way, I want you to throw your support. And people have said this, Bill, not just myself, but other people have said, if the other candidates really were candidates of the people, they would say, I'm dropping my candidacy for the president and throwing my total support behind President Trump because they're out to destroy him and our party, and it's the right darn thing to do.
Well, what does that tell you that they're in it? Because, well, I see the numbers going my way. I'm the Pillsbury Doughboy, and I got 2%.
Yeah.
2%. Pillsbury Doughboy, go eat another donut, you know?
Yeah. It's everybody at the Passaic, New Jersey Dunkin' Donuts.
Look, he's in it for another reason. Number one, whatever he doesn't spend, he gets to keep. Number two, you know, he wants some kind of political appointment or favor. He doesn't care about the presidency. He doesn't care if Joe is the president again. And, you know, the other thing is, when you look at Joe, you know, picture Kamala. You know, I heard Stephanopoulos over the weekend. Somebody goes, well, you know, Nikki Haley, and she kind of was slow to come back. You know, she goes, well, you know, everybody knows Joe's not going to make it. Well, how do you know that? How do you know that? Well, you don't know that, but it's a damn good shot that he's not going to make it through the second term. And then you got Nikki.
Yeah.
I mean, then you got Kamala.
Yeah.
And Kamala, do you really want her running the country?
Oh, my gosh.
If she would be the one running it. So Nikki is right in that aspect that there is no choice. You got to get Kamala out of it. And that means Trump.
You know,
that means Nikki, you got to step down. That means Ramaswamy, you got to step down. Pillsbury Doughboy, just go to Dunkin' Donuts. I'm sure they'll give you a free card.
But you see, this shows their character. This shows who we're really dealing with here. When you had the Nikki Haley's of the world, she said something that, on the stage over the weekend. I think it was on one of the network programs, but she said something about we should humanize abortion. Humanize abortion. I was thinking, are you nuts? You're talking about killing a baby? How do you humanize abortion? But that's where she thinks we should go with the abortion issue. You know, and by the way, that, in my opinion, now maybe they have polls that say otherwise, but there are other more pressing issues right now that are out there. The Supreme Court has kind of made that issue basically a moot point for the time being. It's in the hands of the state. It's in the hands of the states. It is not a federal issue anymore. Let's get to the things like the border and the Ukraine and the economy and our fuel situation. Let's talk about the real issues. But Nikki Haley has to say that we have to humanize abortion. Is she nuts?
Well, because the Democrats have made a big thing out of it, and they're throwing it in there to divide us, and it's working beautifully. We are a divided nation, and the Republicans are a divided party, and there are a lot of issues that are thrown into the campaign trail on a national level that don't need to be there, and a lot of them are common sense issues. I mean, I could, do you take a human life and going all the way through to full term or almost full term, or
Well, in the case of the Virginia governor said after the baby's born, you can wrap it up and make it comfortable and still make a decision as to what you want to do with that baby after the baby was born.
Yeah, and that's not right. But, we're playing God. But, again, there are common sense things to do beforehand.
Well,
but we don't want to be responsible citizens or individuals, do we?
How about a campaign of abstinence or a campaign of protection? We've become a very selfish society. We really have, and anything goes. Like, it goes back to you want to swim with the ladies in their competitions. Well, anything goes. You want to go to the restroom in the women's restroom. They used to arrest guys for going in for that. But now, if you just say, "Well, I feel like a woman," I can go into a woman's restroom. I feel like a woman. It's my right.
Yeah, it's your right. And you know what? I mean, if you're going to sit there and take this abortion issue and go the way that they're going, and late term, after birth, I don't want this baby. Okay, let's go ahead and kill him. Well, then you know what? I guess. We don't need any kind of gun laws.
Well, you know what's going to happen, Bill? They're going to say in the not too distant future, well, wait a second, Mr. Knight is how old? Well, he's lived a good life, really. I don't think he needs.
They're already working towards that. They're talking about different things in Social Security. They're talking about there's so many different things that they're talking about. And I've heard them say, well, they had cancer, but they made it to 69 years of age.
Are they going to deny cancer treatment, you think? Do you think they're going to deny? Well, it's too expensive to give them that cancer treatment, don't you think? Yeah, I think we could just make them comfortable with some good meds and, give them a nice fluffy pillow and let them go to God, Yeah, but they wouldn't use God.
Yeah, I don't know. Look, things are getting crazy. Housing's getting crazy. I don't even know that the American dream is affordable anymore with interest rates going up and inflation going up. But that's Bidenomics, so get used to it. I mean, I think you're going to see more people out in the streets and living that way because they're not going to be able to afford. Once you lose it, once you are no longer considered productive. Now, the people that I know that are older or hit retirement age, they're going, I'm going to work until I die, because that's the only way you can make ends meet. I mean, I just see the American dream. I mean, stick a fork in it. It's dead. It's done.
Over the weekend, General Motors announced that their IT plant in Arizona is going to close down in October. 900 jobs are going to be lost. Now, IT would be it's computers and I guess integrated technology. Is that
something like that?
Yeah, and I would think that's how they can incorporate technology into their cars and things like that. Well, apparently they've decided that's not anything we need to work on right now. Maybe they think they can get all the stuff they need from China. All the technology they need from China. We don't need to have our own plant and that expense.
Well, I mean, we're having a hard time. China's actually having a hard time. We worry about them and everything, and we should be worried about them. The reason we ought to be worried about them is that their economy is collapsing, and the easiest way for them to it's rule number one in business. We saw it in the radio industry. You'd sit there and go, that company is going to be bankrupt in no time. What would they do? They would go in and they would buy a successful company. Now, did they sit there and transpose all the success of that company into them? No, but that gave them enough room to exist for another 3 or 4 years. And then they were in the bankruptcy courts again, and they had to go buy somebody else up.
Yeah.
Well, it works that way. You eat something up and,
Hey, we were talking earlier on during the show about masks and stuff like that they're talking about. Biden is talking about making it, he sounded like he was going to at least encourage, I don't know if they can mandate it, but another booster shot. I don't want to go anywhere near any of that stuff. They had just had the New York Giants had one of their players. No one's talking about this anymore. During the practice on Friday, he collapsed. 28 years old. These guys are in the best shape of their life, but I would be willing to bet you that most of these guys have gotten shots, because they have to have their boosters, updated, or because they play football and they're around a lot of people, and it's probably being mandated by the club.
Probably is. And, the funny thing is, you see Bob Barker, plus, has already died over the weekend.
Yeah,
but
I saw that.
99 kissing 100. I mean, technically, he was around 100 years. And he had a healthy life. He led a healthy life. But, you talk about these mask mandates and the shots, and they take us and they say, you're going to live in a sterile environment. The body is, we were engineered and made to live and excel on this planet. Yeah. And that means that we have certain natural immunity properties about us.
They called it herd immunity. It means you hang around the herd, somebody gets sick, you might brush up against what they have and maybe get a little bit of it in your system, and you develop an immunity.
I'm wondering if they're just, this is control and killing us off too.
Hey, Bill, the Florida Surgeon General, Joseph Ladapo, is urging people to refuse to follow any new mask mandates as schools slowly try to reinstate COVID policies. On Thursday, Ladapo suggested that people should refuse to participate. He is the Surgeon General of the state of Florida. He said these terrible policies only work with your cooperation. How about refusing to participate?
So here's an oddball question. If a country disbands, I guess we have to ask the Soviet Union, what happens to the military and all its hardware?
I don't know.
Because, we're headed that way, maybe. You got Florida that's Republican. You've got red and blue states, people that are sitting there going that say, like Florida saying, forget about the mask, forget about the shots. Then you got a state next to them is going, no, you got to mask up, you got to lock down. You gotta vote blue, and if you don't vote blue, don't worry, we'll change those votes for you.
I'd like to think that we're not going to be torn so much apart that we disappear as a country, but you never know. You never know. I never dreamed we would be in the situation we're in right now, where we have no borders, no security, a government that is actively fighting against our rights and our needs. When you probably have heard this, what is it? SpaceX is being sued by the Department of Justice because they've been hiring only American citizens. Okay? Only educated American citizens. The Department of Justice is saying, well, wait a second. You can't just hire American citizens and people with legal green cards. You have to hire illegals, too. The people who come across the border who are here illegally should have an opportunity to work for SpaceX.
Of course. As a matter of fact, they should get ahead of the list on the hiring status and bonus status.
Who is the Department of Justice really working for? Are they working for us, or are they just merely an arm of the left? Are they merely an arm of the left? I have another story. I don't know how I let this one slip by so late, but we can go a bit longer. In Tennessee, last week, no one heard about this, but the FBI raided another house, and they killed the person in that house who was a veteran who was battling with post-traumatic stress. And the mother essentially said to the FBI, why did you do that? And the FBI's answer was basically, it's none of your business. Now, now, wait a second. Utah, Albuquerque, there was one other I can't think of, and now in Tennessee, FBI raids, people dying. Why?
I don't know. I don't know.
It just is.
No, you know why they're dying? Because they
disagree with our administration.
Yeah, they're not worthy. They're not worthy. And see, it's going to filter down below Trump. He's not worthy as a candidate. He is not worthy to be president. He's not worthy of due justice.
Well,
okay. We don't believe in your God. So you and your God are not worthy. I guess you're not going to get your ration of food or power.
They just said to him last week, aren't you afraid that you're going to be killed? To Trump, and Trump wouldn't answer directly.
Well, it's easier if they lock him up.
I think
I got to believe Hillary's behind this too, because I think she is a vindictive person. And remember, now this was Trump's word: lock her up, lock her up. She was guilty of a lot of things, and he didn't. He should have, because what she's doing now, she's taking it. If she has any say in this, and she is getting more verbal right now. And
another thing you have to pay attention to over the weekend, it was we heard that that chef of Obama who was found drowned. They had to find his body using sonar, and it took quite some time. Apparently, he was on the bottom of the pond, and I guess he wasn't wearing clothes. Now, you don't hear about these things because they found his clothes in another location some distance away from where the body was. And nobody's talking about this guy's death. They're trying to wrap it up neatly and make everybody move along, but there are some people who are suggesting there's much more to this story than we're being told, and again, it's another cover-up. I'm just saying.
Well,
and this is on the internet.
A naked body at the bottom of the pond. They had to use sonar to find him. Number one, how did they sink the body?
I know.
Because a body bloats.
Yeah,
it will float.
It does, yes. I don't know, Bill. I mean...
And the clothes were somewhere else?
So they could say he was in there skinny dipping. Why would he have to skinny dip? He just could grab his suit. He only lived a little distance away from the pond. There's something more going on.
Had to go out of town to take his clothes off and then walk back and take his skinny dip.
I guess.
Okay.
Anyway.
Well, I just wanted to get those facts right.
Hey, we can talk about this tomorrow. Well, I'm sure we'll have other things to talk about, too. Our number is 833-538-7868, 833-538-7868.
Mail at itsanotherday.com. Mail at itsanotherday.com. If you see the post on Truth Social, be sure to listen and like. Also, share us. That's the only way that we grow. Same thing with Getter and same thing with Facebook and anywhere else that you happen to see us. The X,
Word of mouth, too. Just tell your friends, too. If you see somebody in the hallway, suggest they listen to this exciting podcast.
Very exciting.
Now, you have to understand something. Bill is visiting somebody right now, so he's not in his normal private location. He's in a building that's surrounded by a lot of other people, and the walls are probably a bit thinner.
I'm in the land of liberal.
So he's in the land of liberal. Yes, he is. He's in Massachusetts. But anyway, that being said, he's going to try to, in his best tone, he's going to give us his standard ending for the program.
Well, because I think you're worthy. Hasta la vista, baby. We are out of here.
A terrorist sleeper cell has plans to detonate a suitcase nuclear device while the president and the Israeli prime minister are making an appearance at the convention center in Pittsburgh. Can a retired New York City cop stop it from happening? If the cop is Jack Kane, then it's got a good chance. Strike at the Giant, a Jack Kane mystery by Jim Harrington, is a page-turner that will keep you riveted from cover to cover. Strike at the Giant, a Jack Kane mystery from Dover and Blackstone Media, LLC, is available at Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, and many other great online book sites. Or visit itsanotherday.com and click on our link at the top of the page. When it comes to mysteries and a great read, Strike at the Giant is all you need. The Voice of Freedom, CRN America. These days, when you want an answer about just about anything, You ask Alexa. You ask her about the weather. You ask her who won your favorite sporting event. You ask her to find a fact that you can't find anywhere. Well, we did that too. We asked her how many people have downloaded it'sanotherday.com. And this is what she said.
From acceleration.com, it has been downloaded as much as 260,433,467 times.
I know. Seems like a lot. Seems like a lot to us too. But it's Alexa. Thanks for making us a part of your day. And tell your friends about it'sanotherday.com. We could use an extra listener. I mean, what do you do when you only have 260 million?